So can you contribute to a 401k and an IRA? The short answer is yes. Yes, you can. Ability to contribute to an IRA or 401k has no impact on the other. You can contribute fully to an IRA and a 401k, assuming you're eligible for both. Neither one of them will disqualify you for contributing to the other, so you can do both plans. But naturally, once you decide to actually contribute to both an IRA and a 401k, you might ask yourself, well, how much should I contribute to each one? Which one should I contribute to first? Should I do a little bit of both? In this video, we'll talk about how to optimize your contributions to 401ks, to IRAs, or to both. So if you've considered the different types of retirement accounts out there, there are scores of them. I can think of more than a dozen off the top of my head. There are just many opportunities to put money into savings and to invest it in a tax advantage way. And that's a great thing. The problem is when you have so much on your plate to think about, you can kind of get analysis paralysis. And since 70% of private sector workers have access to an employer-sponsored retirement plan, in addition to IRAs and things that are available at large, it's natural for people to commonly ask the question, should I contribute to both? And the answer is it really depends on your situation. So let's walk through step by step how you can make that decision. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, how good is your 401k plan? You can insert a 457 or 403 plan here as well. Basically what you're asking is, does it have a match? Your employer match is 100% absolutely free money. So if you think about it, dollar for dollar match, usually I think the average is around 4% that's matched that you contribute to a 401k. If they match that dollar for dollar, that is a 100% return on everything that you contribute up to that match. You can't find returns like that in the market at large. So naturally, that's the top priority when you're talking about investing and saving for retirement. Get that employer match first. Now, if your employer doesn't match dollar for dollar, even a portion, say if they do half of each dollar or 85% of each dollar, or even 20% of each dollar, that's still free money. Odds are you're going to be better off with that than you would be going and opening an IRA with no employer contribution or employer match and just seeking to find gains that will exceed that on your own. All right, the next question you need to ask yourself is, how much are you saving? If you go to our website, markmoney.com, on milestone number 5 on the Next Dollar Roadmap, we recommend that you save at least 15 to 25% of your income in tax advantage retirement accounts. If you're in a 401k plan, I already said that generally speaking, they match around 4% of whatever you contribute. That's an average plan. Some go all the way up to 10%. I've heard of some going up to 20%. That's very rare. But whatever that match is, odds are it falls short of the 15% to 25% range that we give in Milestone 5. That means you need to make that up somewhere else. Now, once you have an employer match in hand, then you're really just evaluating what's available in the 401k versus an IRA. So an IRA where you control what you buy, you know what the expenses are, you have a lot more options and flexibility in terms of what you invest in. Normally in a 401k plan, you're limited to whatever the employer provides. So typically, the plan that you can set up yourself in an IRA is going to be more affordable, it's going to be cheaper, the expenses are going to be lower, and you're going to see higher returns over the long term if you go through an IRA. So what you're really thinking about is, A, where do we start? And B, when we go to the next step, what's our savings goal? What are we trying to get to? If we've exhausted our first option and we still haven't reached that 15% number or 20 or whatever you're going for, where are you going to make up that gap? That's what you're thinking about next. So let's just give an example. Let's say your income is $100,000 and you're contributing 4% through your employer-sponsored plan because that's what they match. That's $4,000 you're putting in there. At that point, you're probably going to want to go to an IRA. This post is mostly about Roths, but if you go to an IRA, traditional or Roth, and you've got a gap to make up. If your savings goal is $15,000, let's just say it's 15% of 100 grand. Then you've contributed $4,000 already to your 401k. You've got another, $11,000 of room there. Now you can only contribute $6,500 to an IRA in 2023. So you add that to your $4,000, now you're at $10,500, which is $4,500 short of that $15,000 savings goal. Then you go back to the 401k plan because you'll still have some room. Your contribution limit in 2023 to the 401k plan is $22,500, I believe. So you've got another, if you've contributed $4,000, there's still $18,500 of space. So plenty of room for that $4,500. You still want to get to 15% and more if you decide to do that. Now, of course, if you can reach your savings goal of 15%, 20%, 25%, whatever it is, through the 401k or through the IRA, whichever your primary option is, then you're good, you're done, just stop there. All right, the third thing to consider is, what account type do you want to use? Now, we are focused on Roth IRAs in the series I'm doing right now. But you can get an IRA in a Roth or traditional. That means you can pay tax when you make the contribution. That's a Roth account. Or you can defer the tax. Tax deferred is a traditional account. That means you pay the tax when you pull out the money from the account when you retire. Same with a 401k. You can do a Roth 401k or a traditional 401k. Either way, it's up to you. We're not really going to get into the weeds in this video on making that decision. We have another one, Roth versus traditional. We'll link above and in the comments below. But basically what you're trying to decide is, when do you want to be taxed? Do you want to be taxed now or later? And the way you make that decision is knowing how much your taxes are going to be now versus later. The problem is you don't know for sure what your taxes will be later. Congress could change laws, tax rates could go up, they could go down. You do know what they are today, so you're going to have to guess. If you think that you'll be taxed more in retirement, you should probably contribute to a Roth now. If you think you'll be taxed less in retirement, you should go the traditional route. Now, beyond the tax treatment, there's some pros and cons of Roth and traditional accounts I kind of want to walk through now. We'll put them up on the screen so you can read them as I go through. But you think about Roth accounts, some pros of Roths are all withdrawals are completely tax-free once you're 59 and a half. You can withdraw contributions at any time, pull them back out of the Roth without any penalty and any tax. So anything you put into it, you always have access to. So in that way, it's kind of like a backup emergency fund, if you will. Third thing about a Roth is there are no required minimum distributions. So when you get to retirement age, you don't have to take money out. Another great benefit of Roth is it gives you some tax diversification in retirement. If you have money in an after-tax, tax-deferred, or taxable account, you've got these three buckets you can kind of pull money from. It gives you a lot of flexibility if you think about it. Say you're in a year where your taxes are going to be really low, and you could sort of harvest some of the money out of those tax deferred accounts and get taxed on them now where you're in a low bracket. That's a good way to go. Or if you're having a high tax year, you can pull it out of a Roth account and not pay any tax on it. So it gives you a lot of flexibility there. Also, there's some exceptions with Roths that you can pull money out without any penalty, things like paying for tuition or a first-time home. There are medical hardships too. There's different reasons you can pull money out of a Roth IRA other than for retirement that are waived penalties. They're considered hardship exceptions. You'll need to look into those if you want to go that route. Two cons about Roths. First is you can't pull the money out to your 59 and a half without penalty. So any earnings, the contributions we already talked about, you can pull those out, but any earnings in the account for the investments you have, if you pull those out before 59 and a half, you will be penalized on those. It's a 10% penalty for the early withdrawal. Also, you don't get a tax deduction for your contributions. So when you do your taxes after you've contributed to a Roth, there's no deduction at all. So pros of traditional IRAs. First is the tax deduction. When you put money into a traditional IRA, you get a deduction from your income on your taxes. Basically, you don't pay any income tax when it goes in. Furthermore, any earnings that you gain in the account after you make a contribution, they grow tax-free for ages. You do pay money on the withdrawal, which we'll get to in a second. But all that tax-deferred growth basically allows the account to grow without any restraint from taxes. It gets bigger faster. So basically there's a benefit. It's like a tailwind or a boost to the account. Another benefit of traditional IRAs is tax diversification at retirement. We talked about that a little bit with the Roths. Just having those different buckets to pull from gives you some options. All right, cons of traditional IRAs. Again, you cannot pull money out of a traditional IRA until you reach age 59 and a half without penalty. And the other we kind of talked about was required minimum distributions. Traditional IRAs, once you reach age 72, 73, or 75, depending on when you were born, you'll have to make required minimum distributions from the account one day. Now, you may not care. If you're in a low bracket, you're using that traditional IRA for income anyway, it's fine. But a lot of people find when they reach that age, they don't really need the money. So it's kind of a hassle to have to take money out and have to pay tax on that money when they don't really need it. Pros of IRAs, the big one is control. You can open the account anywhere you want, which basically means you're choosing what investments you have access to. When you open that account, it gives you complete and total flexibility and control, which is something you don't really have in a 401k. Obviously, traditional IRAs also receive preferential tax treatment over a taxable account. Not necessarily an advantage over 401ks, but still something worth noting. Okay, some IRA cons. First off, the limitation on what you can contribute is $6,500 in 2023. It goes up to $7,500 if you're 50 or older. So if you're wanting to contribute more to retirement saving, you'll have to find another way to do it once you max that out. I already said also that you can begin making withdrawals at age 59 and a half, but not before. You'll pay a 10% penalty on any early withdrawals. And finally, if you have a high income, you may not be able to contribute to an IRA, Roth or traditional. As you get larger and larger adjusted gross income, the IRS begins to phase out how much you can contribute. We'll put a table on the screen so you can kind of see what that range is. But just know, as you make more income, it gets a little more difficult to find places to put money in a tax advantage space. Okay, 401k pros. Easily the biggest one is the employer match. If you have an employer match, that's just a benefit that you can't really get anywhere else from a retirement account. You know, we talked about the limitations of contributions in IRAs. The contribution limit in a 401k is $22,500. In 2023, it goes up to $30,000 if you're 50 and over. Or on an after-tax basis, you can contribute up to $66,000 if you're under 50, and I think it's $73,500 if you're 50 and older. So lots of room in a 401k plan. Also in a 401k plan, if you have a high income and you're in a safe harbor plan, there are no restrictions based on how much you make on whether or not you can contribute, which is not true in an IRA. Finally, 401ks in most states or many states enjoy a higher degree of legal protection. So if for some reason, God forbid, you were involved in a lawsuit, your 401k would be better protected against a claim than an IRA would. All right, cons of 401ks. The first one is just the limited options and investments. Again, like we said earlier, you have to pick whatever your employer puts in the plan. That's what you're limited to. That can be kind of frustrating if you know you can get cheaper, better investments somewhere else. But that's just the way it is. Another con of 401ks is, again, you have to wait until age 59 and a half to begin making withdrawals. If you take the money out early, you will pay an early withdrawal penalty. There is an exception with 401ks called the Rule of 55. If you retire from the employer that has your 401k plan, you can begin making withdrawals beginning at age 55 if you retire at age 55 or later. But for the most part, you're gonna have to wait until you're 59 and a half. So I also want to talk about the benefits of tax diversification in retirement. I hit on this earlier with the 3 buckets. Basically, having that flexibility gives you a lot of control in retirement over your tax situation. And think about this too. When you're retired, you don't have an income driving up your income taxes. So basically, when you start the year, the slate's kind of clean. Before you take RMDs, you get to choose where your income comes from. So you can define how much it is, how much of it's taxable, which gives you a lot of room to do things like keep your tax liability low, but also it gives you the opportunity to do things like Roth conversions and just apply a lot of strategy to how you realize income and pay taxes in retirement. So to summarize, really what you do to optimize your use of IRAs and 401ks depends on your circumstances. In most cases, you want to go after the employer match first, maximize that, then go to an IRA where you have the option to choose what investments you have and own and can keep expenses kind of low. Then you go back to the 401k to finish out however much you want to save up to that 15, 20, 25% number. Whatever your goal is, you can finish that off in the 401k. Most people will have multiple accounts, both 401ks and IRAs, sometime in their life. So nothing wrong with that at all. Generally speaking, it's a good idea to have an IRA. Just know that having multiple accounts is really probably a good thing, as long as you don't have so many that you can't keep track of them. As always, I'll remind you, we have tons of information about this and more on our website at martinmoney.com. We'll put some relevant links in the description below. We'll also link some videos that we've done that kind of relate to this. Additionally, I want to say there's a written form of this video on the website, which we'll also link in the description below. As always, we are thankful to you for watching our videos. So grateful for your interest and your time. We really appreciate it. God bless and take care.